fundraiser program for celebrating World Mental Health Day 2023. And on the eve of Suicide Prevention Day, we are happy to have a webinar with Dr. Manush Mandal on what makes us happy. We welcome you, sir. A warm welcome from Team Deepranjani. Thank you for being with us. Let me introduce Manush, sir, with a brief introduction. Dr. Manush Kumar Mandal is a distinguished visiting professor at Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, and adjunct professor at National Institute of Advanced Studies and at Allahabad University, and as professor at Rashtriya Raksha University. Formerly, he was a distinguished scientist and Director General at DRDO and a professor of psychology at IIT Kharagpur. Dr. Mandal specializes in the area of neuropsychology and cognitive sciences. He was elected as the Fellow of National Academy for Psychological Science, and awards like Technology Leadership Award, the Scientist of the Year, Agni Award for Excellence, and Technology Spin-off go to his name. Dr. Mandal has to his credit 40 books, over 100 research papers to his name, 7,000 plus international citations of research work. Before we begin, I would like to talk about Deepranjani. Brief introduction. Deep in.
Mudhuparnadi, if you can hear me, and if it is all right, your internet is breaking. Can you please come up a bit about it? Or if it is all right, I can take it up from here. All right. So yes, we have Sir with us here today. And I think by the length of his introduction, we could understand that Sir has had many impactful work in the area of psychology. And the way we understand positive psychology today, at least in the Indian context and South Asian context, Sir has had a great deal to contribute to that. So Sir, we are so grateful here to have with us you today. And we're just so excited to hear about something that is quite usual, but quite extraordinary to understand, that what actually makes us unhappy and how can we address that, and how we can find those little things that we can deal with by ourselves. So please be our guide and take the stage from here, sir. Thank you.
So you would like me to start now?
Yes, please, sir.
Before I do that, do I have the permission to share my screen?
Yes, sir, please.
Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Yes.
Okay. So before I talk to all of you, certain issues, am I clearly audible? Priyanka, I would request you to stay in touch so that if there is any issue, just let me know
Yes.
so that I can, retrieve
Yes,
the
sir, we
situation.
can hear you.
Yeah.
We can hear you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And first of all, I'm very thankful to the Deepranjani Foundation for giving me this opportunity, because not everybody is interested to learn about what makes us unhappy. Actually, most people are very much interested to learn why and how we can be happy. And if we understand the mental health as a concept and construct, we understand that mental health doesn't depend on only absence of your negative traits. It depends also on your presence of positive traits. So presence of positive traits is a very important feature, and absence of negative traits is also an important feature for our mental health. What is in between is something, a question that intrigues me right from day one when I started understanding the phenomenon called happiness. Is that what makes us unhappy? So my talk will center around that. And when I do that, I've got certain points to make. One is that I would like to talk in English, but I can answer questions in English, Bengali, and Hindi, in any of the languages. Anybody ask me this question, I would be able to answer it after I finish it. The second thing is that I'm no happiness guru. I don't follow any tradition, either a religious or a spiritual tradition, to become happy. Not that I'm a religious or a spiritual man, but in order to pursue the science of happiness, I really do not pursue any religious or a spiritual track to tell you why one should be happy. Those who do it, they also are doing a great job, but that's art of happiness. I don't preach art of happiness. I only look after science of happiness. So it gives you a certain idea that why I'm interested and how I am interested in the pursuit of science of happiness. So that's one issue I'd like to talk to you. And the third thing that I wanted to tell you is that the idea behind talking to you is neither to make you happy, not to tell you why you are unhappy. The idea to talk to you is to develop an orientation about happiness, because as a science, we understand today that happiness is just not an emotion. It actually gives us a very big cognitive appraisal about ourselves. It's a kind of insight, awareness, and orientation that we develop in happiness, rather than just trying to peace, comfort, or pleasure. So we have got nothing to do with peace, comfort, and pleasure. We are more interested in insight, awareness, and orientation. And towards that end, we believe that happiness is a process and not a target. It's a journey, not a destination. And to fulfill that process or that journey, the approach that we have to understand happiness is that create happiness for others, you would be happy automatically. If you try to chase happiness for yourself, you will remain unhappy over a period of time. So our philosophy goes like this, that it's a scientific construct where we try to enhance the mental aperture through insight, reorientation, and awareness. Just not we try to find more pleasure, peace, and comfort. We understand that it's a process, it's a journey. And we also understand the best way to become happy is to create happiness and remain among the people who are happy, so that they give you the input about perpetual happiness. Otherwise, you will have to chase happiness all over and you would never get it. So with this introductory comments, I would like to take you to a journey of 15 slides, and for which I require about 50 minutes of time. And after that, I'm ready to answer any question that you might be having. So we are trying to understand science of happiness rather than art of happiness. This is the fundamental. Well, I'll try to answer 4 questions to all of you. These are common questions because we try to understand what are those questions where people really get stuck. And ever since our path, people have been telling you must be happy. Whatever you do, you must be happy. But nobody tells what happiness is all about. How can we be happy? Is there a way to be happy? Nobody gives us that input. Everybody tells that try to be happy. Well, so we try to understand that what makes us happy. The point two, second point that I would like to discuss in my 15-slide talk. Can money buy happiness? If I've got a lot of money, will I be happy? A lot of people believe that, yes, if I've got a lot of money, probably I can buy happiness. So whether money can buy happiness is a question. And some people say, well, money cannot buy happiness, but happiness can buy money. The third question that I would like to address is, what are our misconceptions about happiness? In fact, that's the crux of my talk. That are we really unhappy because of the context that we belong to? Or we are unhappy because of certain misconceptions that we nurture right from day one before till we perish out of this world. So the question is, are there certain misconceptions that we can understand scientifically? And if those misconceptions are taken over, I mean, if you can come out of those misconceptions, we believe that we will be happy automatically. You do not have to make an extra effort to be happy. That's what my position is all about. And scientifically, we have understood that if you can develop that insight, I said, happiness is all about insight, awareness, and orientation. If you can develop those insight, then why we are unhappy scientifically, then probably you do not have to try to be happy. You would become happy automatically. And then finally, we would also like to discuss that what precisely are the reasons we are unhappy. If we can address those issues, probably even that will give us a lot of insight about our happiness. So in the following two slides, I'll try to tell you what makes us happy. Now, when I try to discuss about what makes us happy, I'll actually come up with a lot of conflicts that are inside our mind, which we fail to resolve, and as a result of which we remain unhappy. Let us remember that pleasure is not happiness, and happiness is not satisfaction. Pleasure is short term. Happiness is something which you can actually have in a long-term manner. And if you can cognitively understand, intellectually understand that why you are happy, then in long run you develop some satisfaction as well, which we call subjective well-being. Now, well-being is a concept which you derive after having a cognitive appraisal of your state of being or state of happiness. But that's certainly different from what we mean by pleasure. Now, there are scientific reasons how the brain responds differently for pleasure and happiness. We all know, but I'm not very sure the audience is, aware about the brain sciences or not, which I did. Therefore, I'll not go into great detail behind it, but I'll certainly say that pleasure is something different from happiness, and happiness is something which is different from satisfaction scientifically. So with all those notions, I'll first talk to you about what makes us happy and why do we fail to understand what will make us happy. Now, question I would like to address is, where does happiness lie? Is it in our memory or it is in the moment? If it is a moment, in a given moment, then of course is a different kind of happiness we are talking about. And if it is in the memory, that, well, I had some positive experiences in the past, that can also give me happiness. So I'm not trying to become a descriptive, declarative, or prescriptive. What should be the happiness at what point of time in your life? My idea to talk to you is to tell you that this is a kind of conflict that we all suffer from, that our happiness is more on our memory. For example, if I have a child or a baby, right now must be grown, I can derive satisfaction when my baby was pretty small. Or I can also be happy when my child who is 30 years plus come to me, I can also be happy. So which one is more happy? I mean, memory or moment? That's a question we do not have an answer. If we try to answer for ourselves, probably our clarity will come through. Then comes happiness come from affluence or autonomy. Affluence means you have got a lot of money. You are an affluent person. But all affluent person cannot exercise their power or money. I may have got a lot of affluence or money, but I cannot take sweet because I have got blood sugar problem. So I do not have autonomy. Autonomy is something where you may have got very little, but you have the power to use it whenever you would feel like. We use three concepts in science of happiness. One is called affluence, one is called autonomy, and one is called appreciation. Affluence means what are the resources that you have: psychological, biological, physical, economical, social, ecological. What are the resources that is available? It's not only money. What are the resources available with you? Autonomy means you might be having everything, but you do not have the freedom to make use of it all the time. If you have the freedom to make use of that, we call it autonomy. And there are people who neither depend on affluence or autonomy. They still appreciate life. They may not have autonomy and they may not have affluence at all. Still, they say that life is pretty good. So I have shown you the picture of the rickshawala, whom I asked this question. Actually, he used to stay close to my house. And every day he used to say hello to me. And one day I found that he is not pulling rickshaw. And I asked him, what has happened to you? You are not pulling rickshaw today. He said that, Babuji, I have many kamaliya 600 rupiya aaj. No, I said 600 rupiya tumne kamaliya, fine, but kuch aur kama lo, abhi to din bacha hai. You can save some time for tomorrow or have some more money. He smilingly answered me, Babuji, ये तो आपकी प्रॉब्लम है, हमको नहीं सोचना पड़ता है. Tomorrow I'll once again come out and earn 600 rupees. And I earn at least 20 times more than him, or maybe even 30 times more than him every month. But I do not have that happiness what he does have. So that's autonomy. So affluence and autonomy are two different things. We need to find an answer. Which one is more appropriate for us? Then comes the question of choice or compulsion. Whether more choice gives us happiness or compulsion gives us happiness. If we are compulsively trying to behave in a certain manner, we develop discipline, and discipline gives us a lot of happiness. But if we remain under the gamut of choice and more of freedom, it causes a lot of stress on us, that which choice would be more appropriate for me. So between choice and compulsion, we always hover around and we don't know what would be more important. Is it freedom more important? Is it discipline more important? Is it stability more important through compulsion? Or is it dynamicity or freedom more important through choices? We don't know. I've shown you a photograph. These two men and women, they married, they are from Ukraine. I have taken it from the internet, this story. They were from Ukraine and they used to love each other, married at some point of time, And within 3 months of their marriage, they found that they are not in good sync. They want to be separated. But then they decided, well, let us compulsively love each other, like each other. So they handcuffed each other. Right hand of the girl with the left hand of the boy, handcuffed each other. And they remained handcuffed for 123 days, just to make sure that through compulsion, they should be able to remain close to each other. Even they used to have their personal hygiene through that way only, because the keys were thrown in the sea. After 123 days, they found that they could not find the lab they wanted to. So they got it cut and the story came in the newspaper. So I thought I'll present it before you, that compulsive choice may not be a very happy way of, prevailing a life, or neither lot of choices can actually give you happiness. Then comes a story of volunteering versus reward. What gives us more happiness? So Lions Club did a very good experiment. They wanted to know those who volunteer for an activity, they become happy, or those who get a reward become happy. So they did some blood donation camp. And in the blood donation camp, they found that if they ask for volunteering, in a couple of hours, they get close to 100 volunteers to donate blood. And after donating blood, they all feel very happy. But then in another instance, they believed that, well, let them give 500 rupees reward for every unit of blood to a person. So when they declared that 500 rupees would be given for every unit of blood, they found only 35 people in a couple of hours. Whereas when they asked for volunteering, they got close to 100 people for donating blood. So what gives us happiness? If I get a reward or award, that gives us happiness. Or if I sacrifice and volunteer for a social cause, that gives us more happiness. We are not very sure about it. Then comes our happiness in what we see. We see everything someday. If I see something familiar, that gives me happiness. Or if I see something very unfamiliar, awful experience, that gives us more happiness. So we all have seen probably Taj Mahal. But Taj Mahal, when you see on a full moon day, it becomes awful. So whether an awful person experience gives us more happiness, or a familiar sight gives us more happiness, we are not sure about it. Whether betweenness gives us more happiness or withinness gives us more happiness. That is, if I share my thoughts with others, if I try to understand others, that gives us happiness, or withinness gives us more happiness. That is, if I want to secure myself, I try to promote my cause everywhere, that gives us happiness. Now, everywhere people will say that, well, betweenness definitely gives us happiness. But why I'm sharing with you this study, in Harvard University, since 1937, a study is being conducted. For the last so many years, over 90 years, the study is being conducted, is still being conducted, on 127 couples in 1937. Now today, less than 19 people are surviving, but their entire family, network of family is already there, and study still being conducted. And every 10 years, this study is being conducted and being reported. Very consistently, they have found that in America, in Harvard University, money has got very little place in happiness. It is the betweenness that gives us happiness. Then comes the question of whether our ability to control something gives us more happiness. Or if I believe in the God, that let God give everything to me. If God doesn't give, fine. If God gives me, it's still fine. Negotiable fate. So I become happy if I have got more control, or if I do not have any control, I leave myself in the hands of the God. That gives me more happiness. We don't know. We probably don't know. This is probably a cultural practice in our case, in a collective society like ours. If we get something, we say, God has given to us, somebody else has given to us. But if you go to America, you will find that they don't believe in that process of becoming happy. They say that I did it. So if I take away the cultural differences, we are still not sure whether personal control gives us more happiness or negotiable fate gives us more happiness. This appeared to be very technical, but these are the sciences that we try to study. And then finally comes whether east of the world is more happy or west of the world is more happy. We have found that India's happiness index is 136 out of 156 countries. So we are designated to be extremely unhappy person. And country like Finland has been found to be consistently happy for the last 6 years. So every year, United Nations do this index study. And Gallup is an agency which does it. And India's position was pretty bad at one point of time. It was 141 last year. This year, we have only upgraded a little bit. We have become 136 in number. But the problem is that when the study started in 2012 by United Nations, our rank was 111. Then we started dropping down. And with our economy advancing, our happiness index is also going down and down. Question is there a relationship between, inverse relationship between our happiness and our economy, our ability to have more and more money? So these are researchable questions. I would not like to go more into that. I simply opened up a horizon for you to tell you, look, happiness studies are some studies where we need to understand what actually is my side. Where do I really position myself? If we understand probably either of the positions, betweenness or withinness, personal control or negotiable fate, you take any position, probably you would be happy. But if we hover around these two extremes of our understanding, then probably it makes us unhappy. With this note, I'll first come to the second question. Can money buy happiness? Now, can money buy happiness? I am borrowing the concept from the Nobel laureate, Daniel Kahneman. So Daniel Kahneman is the person who got Nobel Prize in 2004 on this concept. So I would like to express my gratitude towards his study before I actually explain you about happiness. The question he asked, can money really buy happiness? Let me tell you the science behind it. The science that was done, in fact, over 3.5 lakh Americans were studied in order to understand, can money buy happiness? The conclusion that people have reached from this study, and for that he was also given Nobel Prize, is that happiness cannot increase proportionally with your money. They found that happiness begins to plateau after a decent salary. It doesn't increase after a certain point of time. So after doing so much of study, he found that anybody in America who is getting $75,000 per year, which is close to 25 lakh, maybe 20 to 25 lakh rupees per year for a person in India as a parallel, happiness doesn't increase if your salary increases thereafter. Let us presume that 20 lakhs, $75,000 maybe coming towards that extent. Let us presume that 20 lakh rupees per year. So if a person is getting around 20 lakh rupees per year, and then if he gets 25 lakhs after 3-4 years because he is promoted or she is promoted, the happiness will not further increase, because happiness has a plateau after this decent salary, so-called decent salary, is achieved. So researchers have also found that lower income does not cause sadness. You may be having lower income. I gave you the example of rickshawala. He gets only 600 rupees a day, but that doesn't cause sadness. When I said, "Aaj thoda der aur rickshaw chala lo," he said that, "No, Babuji, मैं तो घर पे जाऊंगा, बच्चों के साथ रोटी खाऊंगा, हमें तो पैसा नहीं चाहिए." So the question is that having money does not automatically increase your happiness. And if you are reached to a particular point, a decent salary or a plateau point, then your money may increase, but you will still not get happiness. So he has actually invoked two concepts. One concept is called uh, life satisfaction, and one concept he called as emotion, that is the happiness as an emotion. He says that, well, money may increase in your bank. You will get a cognitive appraisal of that and you will develop some kind of satisfaction, but it will not give you happiness. So the question is, money may buy happiness, some happiness, and proportional differences in money matter will matter the same to everyone. And this study, after Daniel Kahneman, Killingworth in Wharton University, Wharton is a Pennsylvania university. In fact, I used to stay just opposite to Wharton Management School. There a study was done, and they found that higher earner find happiness in moment. That is, suddenly, if your pay commission gives you more money, then your moment will give you happiness, emotion, and in your memory as well, but you will also report more stress. So chasing money as a goal does not lead to happiness. That was the finding of that study, which was done in University of Pennsylvania. So the question is that if you continue to get a lot of money, it may not increase your happiness. It may give you some momentary emotion, and it may also help you in degree of life satisfaction, but ultimately it does not give you happiness because you are also adding stress along with your chase of happiness. So the possible argument is that money has got extrinsic value while happiness depends on intrinsic value. And money may increase happiness and health for those who are poor. Suppose if somebody is poor, not getting enough, for them money may bring happiness. But if you have got enough in the sense, if you have got not bare minimum, if you have got a decent life, increment in money will not actually increase your level of happiness. And then finally, beyond the magic number, the cultural practices, lifestyle are the main drivers of happiness. So a lot of people I have, since my job was being in defense, was to travel in the sub-Himalayan terrains. I have found several people in sub-Himalayan terrains who are surviving there to perform certain cultural practices, suffering a lot physically and economically, but they are deriving a lot of pleasure out of it. So every day in the river Ganga, if you go, you will find a lot of people are performing several rituals and with no return in hand. In fact, they are sacrificing a lot to reach up to that level and deriving satisfaction to a great extent. So I believe that it's not about money, what the Westerners believe, that there is a decent cultural plateau point and thereafter you do not increase happiness. We believe in India being a collective society that our lifestyle and cultural practices also has got a lot of things to do with our happiness. So with this note, I'll come to the third point. That is, what are the misconceptions that we have in happiness? The first misconception that we would like to talk about, we believe that happiness comes from receiving gifts. If you are getting gift, then your happiness will increase. Let us remember, this is just not a normal conjecture. This finding was reported in a journal called Science. Therefore, a lot of research was done in that sector, and researchers have found that happiness level goes much higher when somebody purchases a gift. So when you go and purchase a gift, you become much higher as compared to when you actually receive a gift in your birth. And this study was actually done in 136 countries, not that one or two people, 136 countries. And that study was reported in Science. And not only that, Nature, another most scientific journal in the world, have also found that there is a brain mechanism between happiness and generosity. Now, if I get a gift, or if I give a gift to someone, in order to get a return, that is called reciprocity. And if I give it to someone out of nothing, it's called generosity. I'll first give example, and then I'll tell the brain link. Only 4 days back, I was getting a news in the Yahoo. Every day, Yahoo, we keep getting a lot of news. And I got a news that a girl, secretly, class 8 standard girl, every day secretly she is giving her tiffin to a beggar. She liked that beggar because beggar used to say, "How are you, beggar?" Every day the beggar used to bless her, and secretly she has been giving her tiffin to the beggar. Now, that news came to, somebody must have filmed it and asked this girl, "Why do you do that?" So the answer was pure generosity. That, well, I give it because I feel that I get a lot of food, but that fellow doesn't get it. So I'll share food with someone else. Let me give my food to the beggar. This is generosity. But if I give food to someone in order to get some benefit, that is called reciprocity. So when studies were done on functional MRI, that is functional magnetic resonance imaging on brain, it has been found the two networks are altogether different. I'll not explain the study to you because that's too scientific, how the neurons fire and how the glucose is consumed in the brain while you are generous and while you are reciprocal. That part I'll not tell you because that's too scientific. I would like to tell you the story in the sense, the conclusion of the science, that generosity and reciprocity, if you have a motive behind doing something, then you will not derive happiness. But if you are generous with no expectation from getting something from someone, then you develop divine happiness. So our Gita also says the same thing, that Mahafale Siddharaja. You keep doing your work and you will derive happiness. If you try to understand how you are getting benefited by that, probably you will lose track of. So that's a misconception that happiness comes from receiving gift. Then comes the next misconception, that freedom of choice enhance our happiness. If you are given a lot of freedom, then that will give you a lot of happiness. But actually, if you are given freedom, you will be unhappy. Why? Because with freedom, you have got a lot of cognitive burden on you. If I have got 10 ways to do a job, I'll find it difficult to finally decide which way would be the ideal for me. And I'll keep on thinking about it. I'll keep on hovering around which option is best for me. And probably I'll not be able to take any option if there are too many options. And as a result of which, I will actually land into somewhere where I will only repent that, well, I had so much of chances, but still I did not get it. So we introduce a concept of luck, that why some people are lucky and why some people are not lucky. We say luck has got two parts. One is preparedness, other is opportunity. If you are fully prepared, but no opportunity, you will be having no luck. But if you are not prepared at all, too many opportunities, you are still not lucky. You still don't get the luck. So the question is that what is better? Having thorough preparation but no opportunity, or doing no preparation but getting too many opportunities? In either case, you are not getting anything. But I would always suggest that prepare. Even if the opportunity doesn't come, you will never repent at least that I made a preparation. But if you don't prepare at all and there are a lot of opportunities and you fail to achieve it, you will continuously be repenting that I should have had that. So it's a misconception that freedom of choice enhances our happiness. A lot of people believe that gene determines our happiness. As some people are automatically happy. They don't need to be happier. I mean, they don't need to be stimulated by some happy situation. Very recently, we have come to know through this book, The Biology of Belief. Whosoever gets a chance to read the book can read the book. That's the reason I referred about these studies. Because these studies are taken from sources, scientific sources. The Biology of Belief. The recent study by molecular biologists suggests that our belief at times act as a thinking error. Okay. Beliefs are good, but based on our belief, we become happy or unhappy. If you believe that, this is called primal belief. If you believe the world is bad, then you will remain unhappy. If you believe that the world is good, whatever be the unfortunate issues happened with you, you will remain happy. So belief acts as a filter between the real world and your biology. What we have found in biology and in genetics is that your gene unfolding, your gene find expression, the protein expression takes place based on your belief. It is not that something what is already within you and accordingly genes express. So based on your belief, you find whether growth hormone would be secreted or protection hormone would be secreted. If you are a happy person, there will be growth hormone. And if you are an unhappy person, you will try to protect yourself always through fight and flight. If you are always trying to protect yourself, what will happen? Your blood will always move away from your heart and stomach and brain. It will always be on your periphery. And as a result of which, your brain and heart will be deprived of oxygen over a period of time. And as a result of which, you will become stressed and you will become weak. So our belief actually makes us happy or sad. And our belief actually damages our organ if I am negative in thought. So Templeton Foundation very recently have done a study, and it has come as a special issue on Time magazine, that those who are happy people, they survive 3 years extra, 2 to 3 years extra. The next misconception is that negative memories prevent us from being happy. Not like that. Actually, negative memories, you carry it with yourself. If you are a forgiving type, that forgiveness will have a great unburdening effect. Otherwise, if you are always carrying your negative memory, you would not be able to get away from that negative memory. That will keep on putting pressure on you. But if you know that you have an enemy, and if you forgive that enemy, it will have a great unburdening effect. So forgiving people have got more physical fitness and a better quality of life. So research has shown that forgiving others for past misdeed reduce a long-term stress. We actually carry a lot of stress with ourselves, against whom we cannot do anything, because that's a history that has happened in my lifetime. Another misconception is that pain reduces pleasure. Actually, pain doesn't reduce your pleasure. Pain and pleasure are not orthogonal at all. Pain is inevitable. Your suffering is optional. So your relief from pain actually boosts your pleasure. Your pain gives you social bond. A mother sacrifices always, and has a lot of pain with them. But that only creates bond with their children. And it also captures the attention. So what I said, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And in Harvard study, we all know, those who are in the science, that pleasure and pain has the same center in the brain. At the same center, that gives you pleasure, the same center gives you pain as well. Therefore, the idea that pain reduces pleasure is not true. We have to accept both, and pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Getting my dream job will make me happy. Another misconception, I find a lot of happiness in our IIT students. That, well, if I get my dream job, it will make me happy. I would suggest you to read the book, The How of Happiness, Sonia Lambruschi. The research has shown that you get a new job, you become extremely happy, you get 25 lakh salary per year, but within 3 months, you start believing that you deserve at least 30 lakhs. So your happiness gets saturated. We keep getting pay commission money, and our happiness is saturated within a month's time, not even 3 months. So we become soon happy with the dream job. We think about our dream job, but after getting the job within 3 months, we become unhappy once again. That's because we have a hedonic set point. That is, once you are happy, then you cannot retain that extreme level of happiness over a period of time. This is the reason why the people who get lottery ticket get a lot of money. Within 3 months, they become happy and not unhappy. And not only they become unhappy, within 3 months, they become poor again. They may get 1 crore rupees out of lottery. And within 3 to 6 months, they become poor again. And they become unhappy again. So this is a concept of set point, that we cannot continuously be happy over a period of time. There is a point when we must stop. So happiness doesn't come in a continuous process over a period of time. And the last misconception is that children with disability suffer from depression. It's a huge misconception. People with disability consistently report good quality of life. Actually, their impairment makes very little difference on their quality of life. We call it disability paradox. What matters most is their structural factor. Their daily life is impeded. See, if we can get rid of those inhibitions, those structural factors, like somebody is, having some kind of orthopedically handicapped condition or cerebral palsy, if we can give them the ability to move or mobility, for everything there is a possibility. Somebody cannot see, you can give them certain technology. Somebody cannot listen, you can give them the technology. Somebody cannot write, somebody cannot use a particular hand. You can actually give n number of technologies. In fact, to AICTE, we have made a long list of proposals that students who come with handicap, what kind of technologies they must be provided. Because their happiness level is no less than the normal people. And this impairment doesn't make any difference in their quality of life. And that has been a study. It's not that I'm telling something from my own. It's a long study done. So children with disabilities suffer from depression is a huge misconception. We actually fail to understand them properly. So finally, I'll not go into great misconceptions. in 2-3 slides, I'd like to finish it off, telling you why we are unhappy. In layman's term, that most of us don't go by self-standard, we go by comparative standard. So comparison with others make us unhappy. Lack of gratitude is another thing. Lack of gratitude, in the morning we get up, we simply try to understand what is that I did not get last night or last day. We never think that what is that I got yesterday. It's a lack of gratitude. And if you do not have gratitude, then you would never derive satisfaction or happiness. So what I did not get bothers me always as compared to what I did get. What I did get, I mean, what I have gotten by now, I have got no gratitude. So when our IIT students come here, I say, did you show your gratitude to the servant who used to serve you, the driver who used to take you to the coaching center, your friends who did not get it? They all supported your cause. But did you say, had shown your gratitude to them? Almost all of them said no. So lack of gratitude makes them unhappy actually. A lot of people think that if I am in my comfort zone, I'll be happy. The comfort zone never gives happiness. If you are in a comfort zone, you are fine, but nothing grows there in comfort zone. Nothing grows in comfort zone. So some people get stuck in comfort zone with the hope that they will remain happy, that they never become. Other reasons I find that news fatigue. We have been looking at the mobile phone every time to get some kind of news, and every split second we get some news and we are lost in tragedies. We don't see a good news, we don't see a positive news. In fact, I worked with Martin Seligman. I met with him. I was in University of Pennsylvania. I studied his department, and I used to discuss in his house a lot of things that why people are unhappy. Of course, I had a lot of difference with Martin Seligman. My personal differences. I was teaching in School of Medicine and he was in Department of Psychology. He's 80 years old. But we had a lot of discussions on this issue. So when you are lost with tragedies, your belief system will become primally negative. We call it primal negative thoughts. That is, you believe everything is wrong, you believe everything is negative, you believe the world is bad, you believe every person is bad. Given an opportunity, every person will pull your leg. So we develop a negative thought process for ourselves. And also, one of the great reasons is that living always in the past and future. A lot of people don't want to stay in the current moment. The mindfulness exercise is only to help you to remain in the current state. If you think too much about the past, you will be depressed. If you think too much about the future, you will be anxious. So you hover around depression to anxiety. If you don't know how to stay at the moment, mindfulness exercise is the exercise for that. You would remain perpetually unhappy. But then I would like to tell you why our current generation becomes unhappy. I tried to understand, because I have been teaching for the last 42 years, I must have taught over 6 to 7 lakh students in my lifetime. And this is the 4th generation of students I have been teaching right now. This is the 4th generation. It's in fact 1980s, then 1990s, then up to 2010, and then up to 2020. 4th generation is also gone. The Zoomers, the current generation, I find their happiness is for unhappiness is for different reasons. They're highly intelligent, they're better than me or us, the generation that we are talking about. They are capable of doing multitasking, but they fail to focus in one. Nobody teaches them. Everybody tells how to do multitask, but how to focus in one, nobody tells them. They're always connectable. You connect them in WhatsApp message, but they will remain detached. They may be sitting beside you, but will not make eye contact with you. they will remain detached. Highly collaborative, but look for instant gratification. They will collaborate, they will have a team thing, but if they want to find a result, they will try to find it now. So impulse control is a failure from their side. Instant gratification makes them, the tendency to gratify instantly is those who are in psychology, they must be knowing marshmallow experiment. Marshmallow experiment is an instant gratification. They explore options, but suffer from FOMO. I mean, they get a lot of options. FOMO is fear of missing opportunity. I call it apprehension of the apprehension of hypothetical missed opportunity. That is, they get a lot of opportunities, but after sticking to one opportunity, they start thinking, I should have had another opportunity or the other opportunity. A lot of our students, I find, they come to engineering, then they start believing that, well, had I been to medical, I would have done better. There is no scientific evidence behind that, but they suffer from that. So they remain unhappy. Throughout their career, they remain unhappy, and for no reason. They are very decisive, but don't know how to say no. They learn faster, but they retain less. They have got a lot of information to consume at one point of time. They can absorb information like anything, but if you ask them to retain it, they would not be able to make it. So as long input doesn't come in formation, it cannot be information. And information, if it is not processed, it cannot be knowledge. And if knowledge is not utilized, it cannot be experience. So they learn faster, but they retain less, and as a result of which they become highly unhappy. So in conclusion, happiness doesn't come always from material gain. We have learned that money cannot give you happiness. It's just not a momentary feeling. It can last if you like, you can last it. It's not only meant for those who deserve it. Some people believe that I don't deserve happiness, like depressed people think that I don't deserve happiness. It's meant for all. Anybody can be happy, provided they understand the science behind it and don't go behind the misconceptions. Happy and unhappy people are same. The happy people only process information differently. Their processing level is different. So happiness is a choice. If we want, we can be happy, provided we have a scientific way to be happy. Jokingly, I say happiness is having a really good cry. You cry. If you don't find happiness, you will find happiness. Thank you so much. I'm done.
So wonderful, wonderful. And so many times I felt like actually saying, oh my God, really? That I just had to stop myself from doing that. But so we now come down to the questions, sir. I have 2 questions and I'll request the participants, যদি কারো প্রশ্ন থাকে, you can please raise your hand or you can just type it in the chat box. We'll address all of it. So I have 2 questions. One we have got from multiple participants in the registration form itself. তার মধ্যে কেউ স্পেশাল এডুকেটর, কেউ সাইকোলজিস্ট, কেউ হয়তো চাকরি করেন ডিভিসিতে. So all of them had this common question that my job is very stressful because of multiple levels of responsibilities and ওই একটা answerable একটা জায়গায় তারা থাকেন বলে. They wanted to understand that how they can deal with that fact that they are answerable and they are feeling stressed out, but then they are also doing a responsible work. So এই dilemma থেকে they are unable to figure out how to be happy. So if you could please just address a bit on that.
Well, life is full of dilemma. If there is no dilemma, you would remain unhappy. Since there is a dilemma, you have a pursuit of happiness at least. The dilemma is like, if you do a job, if you are getting a job, then you get a job out of your aptitude. But in order to survive in a job, you require an attitude. So aptitude and attitude is a dilemma. How to prioritize it? Mind and mindset are 2 different things. We all have got excellent mind, but poor mindset. Job is meant for stress. And if you do not have stress as a psychologist, then I would be very, unhappy, because only stress gives me happiness. Reason being that If you do not have stress, you would be complacent, you would be rust out. Once you get rust out, then you would never come back to your normalcy. But if you are under stress, you learn every day. And under stress, if you fail, I would be even more happy, because failure gives you root, success gives you wings. It's always better to have root first, wings later, rather than having success and wings first, root later. If you always have success without having stress, you will never get to know where is your root. And a day will come beyond job when you will be under stress and you never know where to go back. So it's always better to have stress, like aptitude and attitude, agreement and argument, life versus career. Remember, career is within life. Life is not within career. We fail to understand it. We fail to understand it. There is stability versus dynamicity. You want stability or you want dynamicity? People hover around these two conflicts. As long as you do not dramatize it, you would never be able to get rid of the stress. Duty, family, career. All three things will come together. All three will put pressure on you. You need to learn how to prioritize them. If I don't learn, I'll remain in stress. It's our job, because nobody in life teaches us how to take decisions under such conditions. Since there is no syllabus for that, we remain uneducated and illiterate on this subject part. That's the reason why it is very important to prioritize duty, family, and career. How to prioritize them. Your stress is simply because you fail to prioritize it. You don't know how to prioritize. You don't know how to take decision. You do not know what is called a best decision. You do not know what is called a good decision, and you do not know what is called a right decision. So best decision, good decision, right decisions are all different kinds of decisions. You can make a difference only when you know how to take decisions. Since you don't know how to take decisions, you will remain in stress whatever you do.
Very true, sir. And I think it all goes back to the last slide that you shared, that we know, I mean, even if you know how to take decisions, we cannot set boundaries, we cannot say no.
Yes.
So that also creates an issue, I guess. So another question that we had was, how does emotional quotient, emotional intelligence relate to the idea of happiness? Like, are people who are more emotionally aware or intelligent are prone to be more happy, or it's not that way?
Emotional intelligence, of course, if you know how to socially, emotional intelligence is nothing but a social intelligence. So your intellectual faculty and your social faculty are two different faculties. Because if I can perfectly mix between these two faculties, I'll definitely be more happier. Because as I said, you develop your attitude based on your ability to understand others, your ability to feel for others, your ability to develop empathy for others. So emotional intelligence is nothing but going beyond apathy to sympathy to empathy to compassion. So if you can put yourself to somebody else's shoes, you will find that by that time you put yourself to somebody else's shoes, you are automatically happy, because you are trying to understand somebody else's pain and your own pain would go down. So an emotionally intelligent person will definitely be happier than simply an intelligent person, because in this country, particularly in Bengal, we have a great misconception that intelligent people can do everything. Actually, intelligent people can do very little thing. Only average people can do everything.
That's wonderful, sir. So we have one question that two of our participants has asked, Anindita and Sharita ma'am has asked, that is how to teach children, especially teens, to become happy and remain happy in their life, especially who are staying away from their family, maybe because of work or education purposes. How can we align them with the concept of happiness?
It's $1 billion question, of course, because there is no quick answer. To become happy, you need to understand three things. What is the context? What is the content? What is the intent? I mean, as long as the context, content, and intent are getting a proper alignment, you cannot actually get your children happy. First, you have to be happy, and then you can get your children happy. We show unhappiness for not getting happiness to see our children or making our children happier. As long you do not become happy, you cannot expect that your children become happy. I have seen some people who have never smiled. I have never seen in lifetime that they have ever smiled. Now, if you smile, I'll be forced to smile. That's a socially contagious process. So if I smile, you smile, people will smile together, and that will stimulate me to remain, sustain a smiling face. So children in this age, they are actually passing through a very bad time in the sense that the quality of life has changed, the expectations have changed, the expectation and achievement. The major problem with the parents is that they set a very high level of expectation. Children have no problem. I blame parents 90%, only 10% to children. Why do I blame parents? Because parents set such a high standard, which they have in person never achieved it, and expect their children will achieve it. If that is the standard, then very high level of set point and very low level of achievement will create a gap. So achievement and expectation will always create a gap. And if that gap remains, the child will remain stressed. If that stress doesn't go out, his time will come when he or she would be frustrated. When the frustration comes out, it will go to outside as aggression or inside as depression. So aggression and depression actually comes out of frustration, and frustration results simply because we find no match between our expectation and achievement. Best way is to expect to understand our children rather than somebody else's child. Understand our children and put an excellent set point for them. So setting a level for their child is the greatest job a parent can do. We don't do that. We simply set point, see the set point decided by other children. So, and we believe that intelligent people can do everything. So marks can get everything for everybody. That assessment, rank, marks, that has become cancerous. In my lifetime, in IIT, I have seen the toppers rarely get a good job.
Right, sir.
Only the backbenchers are getting the best of the jobs.
So I think Amrita ma'am has something to add. Ma'am, please.
No, sir, I have a question. And before the question, it was a life-altering talk on happiness. I'm sure all the participants will agree to it. Sir, I'm very curious to know that you have presented the data of happiness quotient of the countries of the globe. So the challenges that you talked about of this generation of people in general. So I believe that's a challenge across the globe,
Yes.
not just in our country. So what are they doing differently? Those countries where the happiness quotients are really good, I mean, who are moderate, even moderate. I mean, we are really a backbencher here. And I'm sure as you said that backbenchers do real good works in life.
Yeah.
So it's our time to learn that what are they doing differently? You have traveled across the globe. You are acquainted with all the researches that are going on. So I am really curious to know.
Well, Finland is number one. They live on ice. India is very warm. We live on spice. Okay. There's a fundamental difference between Finland and us, that we are on ice and spice. Well, that's jokes apart. The kind of happiness that World Health Organization or even understands through Gallup study, their way of defining happiness is based on living standard. And our way of defining happiness on our relationship. So I think if we have got one particular parameter to understand about happiness, it should be challenged. And a lot of people are now challenging it. And that's a challenge that, well, our happiness doesn't depend on living standard or resources or affluence. Our system depends on cultural relations, personal relations, betweenness, we derive more happiness through sacrifice because we are a collective society. We don't derive more happiness through our personal control or gain. So ask a mother, they suffer always for their children, but they derive a lot of happiness out of it. Therefore, a Western concept of definition of happiness, that's why I actually disagreed with Martin Seligman, and I used to fight with him on these issues, that this is not the way we should try to understand happiness. Our happiness doesn't stem from living standard. Our happiness doesn't depend on affluence. I gave you the example of Rickshawala. He's happier than me. I earn 2.5 lakh rupees per month, and he earns only 600 rupees a month, a day. Maybe some couple of thousands in a month, but definitely he's more happier. So the question is, it's a difference is of operationalization. How do I operationalize our happiness? So for operationalization, you have got 3 pillars. One pillar is affluence, one pillar is autonomy, one pillar is appreciation. There are people who have got neither affluence nor autonomy. They still believe that they have lived a very good life. They have got nothing in hand, but they lived a beautiful life. So there are people in this country, we are a collective society. We have learned how to appreciate others. We have never learned how to appreciate ourselves. Therefore, this is a challenge. And this notion, I actually try to put forward in all the forums around the world, that this is not the way we define happiness. Our definition of happiness comes through relationship. If a social support and relationship is there, then we are the happiest. So a long way to go, but I do not blame UN as well, because UN index of happiness is meant for replacing GDP to your perceived happiness through standard of living. So that's the way we actually differ from east to west.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was enlightening.
Sir, we have one question from Dibjanidhi. She's saying that she feels unhappy sometimes when somebody ignores her, and the same time the person is who is close to her, suddenly their behavior changes. So how can she address that issue?
It's the issue of love and hate. Hate is conditional love. So unhappiness is part of, we must feel the pain, but suffering is optional. We may not suffer. So they come together always. They are 2 sides of the same coin. Happiness and unhappiness is the same. A happy person must be able to experience all shades of emotion: happy, sad, fear, anger, surprise, disgust. A happy person only can experience all shades of happiness, all shades of emotions, including anger, including sadness, including disgust, including surprise. An unhappy person has got only one emotion in hand. They are unhappy and sad. Therefore, happiness doesn't mean that I remain happy. I cannot remain happy all the time. A person can at best be happy in a day for not more than 15% of the time. Everybody thinks that they should be happy. If happiness is a choice, why 80% of the population in the world are unhappy? It's not a choice also. Happiness comes as happiness has got a definition which must go beyond what we understand in our day-to-day life. Day-to-day life, we understand more pleasure, which is derived through dopamine. But happiness comes through serotonin. It comes through your gut. That is, I don't know, people would know it or not. It is GBA, the gut-brain axis. That actually provides maximum serotonin to the brain. So stability, mood stability is more important in happiness rather than finding pleasure in a certain occasion. So finding pleasure is nothing but an expression of frustration only.
Sir, I think it also comes from the thing, the cultural practice that we have. যে মন খারাপ করা খুব একটা ভালো জিনিস নয়, মানে it's not okay to be sad. It's only okay if you're smiling and happy or chirpy all the time.
Not always. If you are You must get this sense of what sadness is all about. Because a happy person can only sense it properly. এই জন্য শরৎচন্দ্র চট্টোপাধ্যায় বলে গেছিলেন যে sadness without fear can be enjoyed like happiness.
Smart. Really true. Sir, এই পার্সপেক্টিভ থেকে যেটা জিজ্ঞেস করার ছিল, এই যে we do the appraisals, যে this is something horrible, this is something all right, this is something enjoyable. Would you like to point a bit about the appraisal part? মানে যে কগনিশনটা আছে বিভিন্ন জিনিস নিয়ে, তার জন্য তো আসলে আমাদের কোথাও না কোথাও ইমোশন লাগে. Yes. So if you would please talk a bit about that.
Appraisal is nothing but knowing your set point. That this is my set point. That I should be happy with this. Now, yeah. There are two kinds of set point. One is instinctive set point, other is adaptive set point. Instinctive set point is that you must be able to meet your biological, psychological, social, I mean, the minimum need that you must have. But adaptive set point, that if you don't get it or if you get too much, you must be able to fall back to your set point. The day you understand what is your set point, then it will not allow you to hover around unhappiness or too much of happiness. Too much of happiness is nothing but a pleasure, and pleasure is a reaction to your frustration only. So people think that, oh, I am not getting good mood, let me go and go for dinner. You go for dinner, spend a lot of money, by the time you come back, you become even more depressed. Because that's an expression of your frustration only. Entertainment is nothing but an expression of frustration.
And so there has been a lot of work going on retail therapy as well. Like the way we retail therapy, like we go for window shopping and everything to make ourselves feel good. But in the end, we end up feeling unhappy because we spend so much money on things we don't need. And sir, I have read a book by Russ Harris on the happiness trap. And I think that also talks about this, that this urge to that, we have to feel happy itself kind of puts us in the loop of not feeling happy at all. Sir, I think we have no more questions. So I want to ask one thing, sir, if you give me permission. And so would you like to share a bit of self-care techniques or self-care rituals that we can practice on a day-to-day basis so that we are more in touch with ourselves? Not that we have to become more happy or something, but so that we are more in alliance with our own emotions and we understand. Could you share a few?
I think there is no generic standards for that. The generic standards are that create happiness for others, you will be happy always. You don't need to pursue happiness in order to, and you do not have to develop a different kind of discipline altogether. If you are someone, remain in your uniqueness. That uniqueness is more important rather than trying to follow others. And if you have got a unique feature, every person has got a unique feature. The idea is that we should be able to create happiness for others rather than trying to be happy always at the same time. So the creating happiness, instead of preaching it, we must be able to practice it. And that practicing is keeping everybody happy all around. That the effort is more important. So I said, it's the context, is the content, is the intent. Your intent must be happy. You may not be able to make people happy. You may not be able to make yourself happy, but your intent should be to be happy. If that is there, you will be perpetually happy.
Right, sir. So I have got one question at my personal inbox. That is, what if somebody is happy but cannot feel the happiness? Like, I guess the point of the question is that they can intellectually feel maybe that they're identifying that they're happy, but not feeling the happiness. Can you talk?
Well, the other day, ISRO chairman, the people were asking that, well, you have sent a rocket to moon, you must be happy. There is no expression in your happiness. So he says that my inner space and outer space are different. So I explore outer space with rocket and inner space with spirituality. So if you are spiritually inclined, you don't need to express happiness. Your inner happiness is enough. Why do you need to express it? Now, expression is required only when you are in a social front, you want to be happy in a social situation. That expression is fine. In the morning when we meet each other, we say hello each other and reciprocate our happiness, then that should be fine. But then if you are a happy person internally, it is reflected automatically. The people who always show happiness, they are reflexive. People who never show happiness are reflective. So people hover between reflectivity and reflexivity in their expression of happiness. There are 42,000 different shades of happiness. You can actually express happiness in 42,000 different ways. Since that was my PhD work, so I know this subject matter and which kind of happiness you are actually showing through smile to ecstatic happiness. It depends on context, depends on content. Don't try to be happy. You will be happy automatically.
Sir, ekটু পড়তে চাই. If you can please pass it along to us, we would be very pleased to read it out.
I will try to send you some
Sure.
books.
Sure, sir. So we have a question from Pinky Pal. Ma'am, can you please unmute yourself? I have sent a request. Please.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, it was a very nice talk. So yeah, like if someone can't control her or his emotions, so like what are the tips you can suggest, like which will be helpful for us to control our emotion?
What kind of happy, sad, fear, anger, surprise, disgust? You meant to say any emotion?
Yeah, like sir, happy and sad is fine, but anger thing is difficult to control also. No, like see, like I am a PhD scholar, so like it is dangerous for me actually.
To express your unhappiness before your supervisor?
No, like anger actually.
And sir, she's in IIT Mumbai. She's finding it difficult to deal with anger.
Well, I supervised 45 theses and 35 PhD and 10 PDF. Okay. So almost every student said that at one point of time, I believe, sir, I must leave my PhD, and I was feel like dying. So it is a sense that we all come across, but let me answer you in a scientific manner. There are 4 ways you can control it. You can intensify your emotion, you can de-intensify your emotion, you can neutralize your emotion, you can mask your emotion. Okay. There are 4 control mechanisms to actually do such thing. If you mask too much, you would be developing cognitive dissonance. If you learn how to de-intensify it, that's a cultural practice. If you can neutralize your emotion, that comes through your control. I mean, that's your control mechanism. And if you intensify it, that's for your personal purpose. So if you go to Japan, and if you find somebody extremely angry, they smile actually, they mask it. Japanese people mask their unhappiness with happiness. So masking is a cultural practice. In India, if somebody is very unhappy or somebody is dead, for example, wild sowing is a cultural practice. So it's an intensification of sadness. That's a cultural practice that helps us get rid of the post-traumatic stress. So every culture has a own way of practicing how to express emotion. And every individual also has their own way of doing it. So it is difficult to tell which way would be most suited for you, as long you are not in front of me and let me know every detail of yours. Therefore, giving a general formula to how to control your expression, would be a difficult job, but scientifically, these are the 4 ways you can do it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Anyway, I am going to Japan in November for a conference.
You're going. So Japanese people will first of all will tell that, well, all Indians look alike. So be careful.
Yeah.
Okay. In Japan, I taught in Japan for a long time.
I also
Several.
heard that Japanese people are so honest. So I am happy to go there actually because
You don't
there are-
find honest people here?
Stop.
actually it is difficult. Like I feel difficulty actually because you
I
know
find
if something is going wrong also, I am feeling like it will fail. I will tell and they will be angry. So like I have to do that work. So like I know that it is a waste of my time, but still I have to do because he or she is my supervisor. He is doing that, so I have to do that.
so. You will stay back in Japan. You will never come back to India.
Actually, I will go for a conference for 6 days only. So after that, I will think like I am not sure what I will do anyway. Like yeah. I am experiencing actually all the things and like.
Well, I taught Japan for a long time, and they
Okay.
are truly. I was in Kyoto and Kyushu. They are truly honest people. They don't. They have got in their dictionary. There's nothing called lie. You cannot lie anything.
That's why I
Truly,
have chosen that place only for going conference because our institute will give one this thing like one travel allowance for
but 6 days is nothing. You will.
yeah.
Because people will, you will not be able to talk to anybody. They don't know English. So
Anyway, some flavor we will get. No.
you will get some people, but you will not be able to get people who can actually. You can at best tell arigato gozaimashita. That is thank you so much.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
is there anything else?
Yes, we have another. We would actually have time to take only 2 more short questions. So I would request Papia ma'am to please unmute and ask the question.
নমস্কার স্যার।
Namaskar.
হ্যাঁ স্যার, আমার একটু জানার ছিল, আমরা যেহেতু স্পেশাল পার্সনদের সাথে কাজ করি, তো সেখানে এরকম অনেক সিচুয়েশন হয় যেখানে আমাদের স্টুডেন্ট বা আমাদের ফ্যামিলি মেম্বাররা যারা স্পেশাল পার্সন তারা খুব ওভারওয়েলমড হয়ে গিয়ে প্রচন্ড খুশি এবং প্রচন্ড এক্সাইটেড, এবং যে এক্সাইটমেন্টটা থেকে তার সমস্ত কাজ বা বাকি সমস্তটা এফেক্টেড হয়ে যায়, সেটা থেকে মানে তার ওই এক্সাইটমেন্টটা কমিয়ে এনে কাজে আনতে অনেক সময় লেগে যায়। তো এই ব্যাপারে যদি স্যার কিছু গাইড করেন।
Mood stability. You must teach them how to stabilize mood. Mood stability in any kind of emotion is a very important thing, either in job or in special education. আমরা এই জন্য বলি a happy person never become. It's very difficult to incentivize a happy person because they are already happy. How can you incentivize them? You cannot get productivity from a happy person. So you must learn how to stabilize your mood. So mood stability is a learning. It's a process. So before you give the outcome, you must first tell them how to stabilize your mood. Mood stability is important.
Okay, thank you sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have one more question that is from Shutapa ma'am. She is asking that how to cope with the crisis and try to be happy at the same time. Please respond.
Well, there are 2 kinds of style we mentioned. One is called lifestyle, other is called coping style. Okay. Some people have got good lifestyle, bad coping style. Some people have got good coping style, bad lifestyle. So if you want to cope with the crisis, there are certain coping mechanisms also. There are 4 ways people actually cope. Some people try to attack the problem. Some people try to compromise with the problem. Some people try to defend the problem. Some people try to avoid the problem. In order to make an analysis of your own coping mechanism, once again, you have to understand the context. Under what context you are actually coping. At some place, I may be attacking in the job. At some place, I may be compromising. At some place, I may be avoiding. At some place, I may be defending. So the worst part of coping mechanism is to defend yourself. So if you don't defend yourself unnecessarily, your coping mechanism is perfect. You do not have to read psychology. We actually try to defend ourselves unnecessarily. Therefore, if you can attack a problem, if you can compromise with a problem, if you can avoid a problem, everything is a fine coping style, depending upon the context and the content. If you see a tiger, you will avoid it. If you are not prepared but still have to do a job, you have to compromise it. If you know that if you take the challenge and still can win, even if you don't win, doesn't matter, you can attack a problem. But most of the time we try to defend our position. no, I am such a good person, I could not do because of something else.
Hmm.
So we try to rationalize it. We try to develop a lot of defense mechanism for ourselves. So if you fail, if you stop defending yourself, your coping style becomes better.
Right. Thank you, sir. I think we are
Thank you.
thinking of our time, and I would request our dear founder, Dr. Amrita Panda, to please cast the vote of thanks. And I think today is one of the very rarest of the rare occasions where we have had 94 registrations and we have had 84 participants joining. And I think that is the charm of you and the wonderful work that you have done, sir. Thank you so much. Ma'am, please take it.
Sir, as I mentioned, I believe it's a life-altering talk that we had in last 1.5 hours. And it's my pleasure that we could have it today with you. And I won't say thanks to you, but I would really like to mention that you made all of us very happy today.
Oh, that's good.
Of
You
course.
felt good.
Yes, and thanks to all the participants for being here, for participating. I know how engrossed all of you are. It's a wonderful opportunity for all of us to hear Sir, who needs no introduction, an institution in himself. So we look forward to many such opportunities to hear from Sir, and we will try to make it happen. Sir is very busy. Still, we would try to do that. Thanks to all the participants. This webinar will be really successful if we can make use of what we have learned, if we can educate ourselves even more, if we can talk with each other, if we can implement it at the best possible way. And thanks to my back-end team, the Pranjali back-end team, for organizing this so wonderfully. We look forward to have many such events. Thank you so much, sir. Our heartfelt gratitude.
Thank you, everybody. We'll meet and we'll talk again sometime. Okay?
Very soon.
Good luck.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.